Welcome, everyone, to the Sweet 16 NCAA Player Prop Show. I am Nick Giffen, predictive analyst here at Action Network, and joining me, the one, the only, the odds maker, our director of predictive analytics, Sean Koerner. And once again, we'll be bringing you Sweet 16 player props. Looking to have a little better week this week. We started off cold last week, kind of got hot, especially Sean over the weekend. So, Sean, what do you think, man? We're going to try to build off that momentum that you had over the weekend.
Absolutely. We're going to bounce back here, and I'm going to start it off with sort of a, run it back type play here. I'm going to go back to the well with Mark Sears of Alabama to go under 3.5 rebounds. You can get it at minus 118. Um, you know, Sure enough, so he had five boards in the opening round. That was very unfortunate. It kind of came out of nowhere. And then sure enough, he followed that up with 0 boards in the next round against St. Mary's. So regression finally hit him there, unfortunately, after we locked in the under 3.5 for the first round. But this just isn't a number that he typically clears. He's stayed under 3.5 rebounds 66% of the time this season. And I realized, this is a matchup where it's going to be very fast paced, very high scoring. BYU is going to chuck up a ton of threes. So someone, a guard like Mark Sears could be, involved in more potential rebounds than normal. However, BYU is an excellent shooting team. They rank sixth in effective field goal percentage. So hopefully they're just making their threes and there's just not that many potential rebounds to go around. But BYU is also a very good rebounding team. They have, a slight height advantage over Alabama. And the players that Sears will likely be guarding for most of the game are all, a handful of inches taller than him. When he was playing Robert Morris, he was the same height or taller than the guys he was guarding. So I think that kind of helped him out early on. But this is a matchup where he's going to be at a height disadvantage for sure.
Mhm.
So, we're projecting him closer to 2.7 boards here with around a 62% chance he stays under 3.5.
All right. So that is Sean's first pick. It is for the Alabama versus BYU game. My pick's also going to be in that game. But before we get to that, we know these markets be a little tricky. So we're going to drop quick slip links in the YouTube chat. And of course, those will immediately populate the props into your bet slip on your phone. So be on the lookout for those. Also, March is still the best month of the year, just not for sports, but also for getting the best deal on Action Pro. You can get Action Pro for just over $5 a month for the entire year. And for the NCAA tournament, you'll get Sean and my player prop projections and experts like Stuckey, Mike Calabrese. You can get their picks in the app 30 minutes before everyone else. So go to actionnetwork.com/March right now to get on board. All right. So Sean started us off with Mark Sears under 3.5 rebounds for Alabama. I'm in the same game here, and I'm also going to take a rebound under for the same team, but I'm going to go to Big Clifford Omoruyi. And I'm going to take under 7.5 rebounds. You can get that at minus 140 at MGM. I was a little bummed because it was minus 110 earlier today. And I had it, fully ready to go. And by the time we get to giving it out on the show, it moved to minus 140, but we're still showing value there. And it is showing us that, our picks are still on the sharp side. And kind of as, Sean alluded to here, there's a lot of similarities. Grant Nelson, he should be back and healthy. His minutes should be back up to regular. And Grant Nelson's a high rebound guy. So that should take away some of those inside rebounds away from Omoruyi. Also, BYU, they shoot a ton of threes. And normally we'd be like, well, they're shooting a lot of threes. That's going to create more rebound opportunities. But that's already factored into our model, right? So the fact that BYU shoots a ton of threes and forces opponents into shooting a ton of threes, there is more rebound volume, but what our projections really can't quite take into account is where those rebounds are going to go. And when you're taking a lot of long threes, those rebounds will go in all sorts of different directions and distances, much more so than, these inside shots where they rebounds tend to fall inside as well. So I think that's some hidden value that doesn't even come with our projections there, which may be, a reason why our projections are a little too high still. And also, Omoruyi has actually fared worse against good shooting teams. And as Sean mentioned, BYU is number 6 in effective field goal percentage. When you look at Omori's, rebounds per minute played, they're lowest when opposing teams shoot really well. It's almost like a second distribution he has. He almost has a bimodal distribution against these really good shooting teams. And it's just a very low rebound total against these great shooting teams. So our projection is probably pretty conservative here, going with 7 with a 60% chance to say under 7.5. But I think it's, probably even too high. I think we could be more aggressive and go more towards 6.5 rebounds with beyond a 60% chance of staying under 7.5 rebounds here. So Cliff Omoruyi is my pick 1 also in this Bama BYU game. And before I throw it to Sean, our next picks, both mine and Sean's, will come from this Duke game. Duke versus Arizona. So if you want to get a chance, to flip over from the BYU Bama game to the Duke Arizona game, make sure you do that now because both our picks will be from that game. So Sean, I'll start you off here as well in this Duke Arizona game. What is your pick here?
So my pick for this game is Sion James of Duke to go over 2.5 assists at -110. This is a game where, Arizona plays at a faster pace. They generate turnovers below league average rate and send teams to the free throw line at a below average rate. So this is a game where Duke should get off more shots than usual in this game, which could lead to, more potential assist chances. Plus, James attempts a shot at the lowest rate among Duke's starting 5. So that just increases his chances of generating, potential assists. He does, tend to stand in the corner quite a bit, but he's generally the one taking the ball up the court. And if he sees something set up early on, he'll make a quick pass that leads to a shot. He did that last game against Baylor. He, had a nice alley-oop to Cooper Flagg. Or, he could be part of a play where he dishes it outside. He had an assist on one of Tyrese Proctor's 6 threes last game. So with Proctor just chucking up a ton of threes and making them, that just gives Sion James even more opportunities to kind of get assists. And ever since James, became a starter 29 games ago, he's cleared this 65% of the time. Wow. And, Duke has been averaging 83 points a game over that stretch, but their team total is 81 for this game. So this is right around what we'd expect for Duke in terms of team total. But, his minutes have typically, they've been capped around 27 minutes per game. That's because they blow everybody out. If you look, half the time they win by 30 plus points and he's out of the game and he's only playing, 25, 27 minutes. So this is a game where it should be more competitive than most Duke games. So he should, play around his max of 31 to 32 minutes. So again, that's just going to raise his floor even more. So we're projecting him closer to 3.4 assists with around a 62% chance he clears 2.5 here.
Yeah, it's interesting. You say this should be more competitive, and it's funny because the spread is still 9.5 points. And
right.
When we're talking Duke games, they've been blowing teams out of the water left and right. But yeah, Sion James over 2.5 assists is Sean's second pick here on our Sweet 16 prop show. I mentioned mine's going to be from this same game, and I guess I'm going with a theme here, Sean. I'm going with the big man under rebounds because I am taking Duke's Khaman Maluach under 7.5 rebounds. You can get that at -140. And Duke kind of has had an inflection point in their season. It really is when Patrick Ngongba started getting increased minutes. He's played more than double-digit minutes in 10 of the last 11 games. So looking just at that particular sample size, Maluach has still had 7.8 rebounds per game, which doesn't look good when we're taking under 7.5, but there's some hidden underlying factors here. Sean and I love these underlying factors. 2.5 of those games were without Cooper Flagg. Cooper Flagg is also a high rebound rate guy. And in those 3 games, 2.5 games, I should say, Maluach had 9, 9, and 10 rebounds. So that could be really overinflating that 7.8 average and also overinflating just his kind of season long, offensive and defensive rebound rates because he's increased those rebound rates a little bit artificially. Also, in those 11 games, 10 of those came against weaker rebound opposition than Arizona should pose. So if you look at our schedule adjusted rebounding, Arizona was tougher than 10 of those 11 opponents. The one that it wasn't tougher than was Illinois. And Illinois has about the same rebound rate as Arizona. They're similarly paced. Both of them are up tempo. And actually, Illinois is a little more up tempo than Arizona. And Maluach had just 7 rebounds in that game. But I think there also was more rebound opportunity against Illinois because Arizona, both offensively and defensively, has much higher turnover rates and free throw rates than Illinois, right? So if you're ending a lot more possessions with turnovers or free throws, those are lower rebound opportunities or even no rebound opportunity possessions on turnovers. But, at the free throw line, free throws are higher percentage shots. So there could be even fewer rebound opportunities against Arizona than there was against Illinois. And Maluach only had 7 against Illinois. So we're projecting slightly less than 7 rebounds here with, again, north of a 60% chance of staying under 7.5 rebounds. So Sean's second pick again, Zion James over 2.5 assists. I have Khaman Maluach under 7.5 rebounds in this Duke versus Arizona game. We each have one more pick to go. Sean's final pick will be for Texas Tech versus Arkansas. Mine's going to come in the other game tomorrow, Maryland, Florida. But once again, before we get to those picks, March is still the best month of the year, not just for sports, but also for getting the best deal on Action Pro. You can get Action Pro for just over $5 a month for the entire year. And for the NCAA tournament, you'll get mine and Sean's player prop projections and our college experts like Stuckey, Mike Calabrese, their picks in the Action app 30 minutes before everybody else gets them. So go to actionnetwork.com/March right now to get on board. All right, our final picks are incoming here. As I mentioned, Sean's game here is going to be Texas Tech versus Arkansas. My game will be Maryland versus Florida. So Sean, let's get to yours for Texas Tech versus Arkansas.
So I'm going to go with JT Toppin of Texas Tech to go over 9.5 rebounds at -118. He has 12 and 11 here in the first 2 games of the tournament. He's been on absolute fire lately. And this is a game where he should play 30 plus minutes. And looking at this season, any game he's played 30 plus minutes in, he's cleared it 77% of the time. So 10 of the 13 games he played at least 30 minutes. He's cleared this 77% of the time. And, this is, a tougher matchup against Arkansas. But the thing with Arkansas is they do tend to take most of their shots inside, which makes it more likely for, Toppin to be involved in on the potential defensive boards. Especially considering Arkansas, they don't really crash the offensive glass much. So they're below average in terms of offensive rebound rate. So he's going to be cleaning up a lot of the defense, the potential defensive rebounds for Texas Tech. And, when Arkansas does shoot from outside, they tend to struggle. So, they don't shoot as many threes as your average team, but they do struggle. So there could be some extra boards there to go around as well. Having said all that, we project Toppin closer to 11.5 boards, so about 2 clear of this number, and give him around a 63% chance to clear 9.5. He just has a really high ceiling in this matchup because, again, most of this is due to the fact that we're projecting him for more than 30 minutes, which gives him a massive floor, and he's cleared it 77% of the time this year when he does play at least 30 minutes.
Yeah. All right. I like it. So JT Toppin for Texas Tech over 9.5 rebounds. This definitely looks like a really good spot for him to rack up double-digit plus rebounds. So for my pick, we're going over to that Maryland versus Florida game, the only other game left on Thursday that we have yet to talk about. And I am going to go not with Derek Queen, but I'm going to go with Julian Reese. We like Dairy Queen and Reese's Pieces as our joke here, the inside duo. And I'm going to take Julian Reese over 21.5 points plus rebounds plus assists. You can get that at minus 130. If you only have points plus rebounds available to you, I like the over 20.5 there as well, if that's your option. But really, any combination of points and rebounds, especially, I really like, as long you can tack on the assists as well. But I wouldn't just go points and assists, is what I'm trying to say here. So over 21.5 points plus rebounds plus assists, minus 130. And the reason I like this angle here is Reese has a higher offensive rebound percentage than his teammate, Derek Queen. And I think that's an important angle here because Florida should force Maryland into more inside shots, given that Florida allows, just a 37% shot rate from outside compared to 39% national average. So Reese is going to be taking a lot of those inside shots, so getting points that way. But even if he misses, Florida has a top 20% 2-point percentage defense. So he could be missing a few of them, but Florida's not really dominant on the offensive glass. They're just barely inside the top 100 by our schedule adjusted defensive rebound percentage. So Reese should have plenty of chances to grab offensive rebounds and put those back in for some points. So they're kind of correlated here. That offensive rebound plus the points are correlated. Or he could grab that offensive rebound, kick it out to a teammate, they score the points, and he gets an assist that way. So there's some hidden correlation here on those offensive rebounds plus points or offensive rebounds plus assists for Reese, but especially on the points angle, given that Florida likes to force teams a little bit more inside and they have a great shooting defense. So we're projecting around 9.5 rebounds, around 13.5 points, and a little more than 1 assist on average for Reese here. So, you add all that up, that's around 24 is our projection for points plus rebounds plus assists, about 1 less than that if you just do points and rebounds. So going to go with Reese over 21.5 PRA. And Sean has JT Toppin, Texas Tech over 9.5 rebounds as each of our final picks. So that is going to do it for us for the Sweet 16 player prop show. Again, make sure you're following Sean, the _odds maker, and me, Nick _Giffen, in the Action app to get all of our picks instantly, especially if you're an Action Pro member. And we'll be giving out picks throughout the rest of the weekend, not only for the Sweet 16, but the Elite 8 as well. And of course, on to the Final Four, which I'm sure we'll have another show for that as well. But until then, I'm Nick Giffen and Sean Koerner. We'll see you later.